Well, a story that sits with me so often these days is a conversation that I had with a man after the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. So I traveled to the border on the Turkish side and met with humanitarian workers who not only were affected by the earthquakes themselves, many had lost significant numbers of their family or had been injured, but their job actually was as humanitarian workers. And one of the things that I explained when I was sharing a little bit about trauma with the group was that, when we're in an emergency situation, when our body perceives us to be under threat, the brain, the survival brain, which is the unconscious part of our brain, manages all of our unconscious functions. And this man came up to me after I explained this at the break, and he said, "Thank you so much for sharing that, because actually when the earthquake happened, I leapt up from my bed and I ran out of my apartment, and I didn't wake my wife and I didn't grab my children." And he said, "I've lost family members and I've been deeply personally impacted by this earthquake, but this was the thing." I was thinking, what kind of person am I to do that? And he goes, "Now I'm actually realizing I'm a person whose survival brain is, really well attuned, and that was trying to help me survive. And I can probably forgive myself now that I know that." And so for me, a huge part of my work over the last number of years has been opening up conversation, opening up space for people to normalize, to maybe understand a little bit more about what's normal when we are experiencing adversity, but also to normalize it for themselves, to go, yeah, actually, I was responding that way because I'm a human being, and this is how humans are designed to respond. And when we open up those conversations, when we give people a little knowledge, but open up those conversations amongst groups and practitioners, it really transforms people's experience. And so I think for me, all the way through my work over the last kind of 25 years has been this through line of making safer space for people to maybe get new information, but also hear new stories, maybe say things that are a little more difficult. So trauma is, there's so many different definitions, but the one I like to use is that trauma is something that deeply impacts us and that often moves beyond our existing sort of self-care and support structures and creates that longer impact for us. We may notice it physically, not sleeping, or changes in eating habits, or levels of anxiety in the body. I just can't focus. We may notice that relationally, so communication breakdowns, maybe clinging to people or pushing people away. So it ends up being something that's safer for us, safer for the parties, and ultimately, hopefully, more effective in the work we're doing when we can hold those spaces when trauma begins to emerge.